I'm Elaine Reyes at the CCTV UN Bureau inside the United Nations headquarters in New York. And this is UN Insider.
Coming up.
The cause of gender equality has never been more urgent, nor the obstacles in our way more apparent. But our determination has never been more unshakable.
UN leaders renew their push for a more equal world for women and girls.
Progress has been too slow. It's been far too uneven. It's been far too fragile.
Launching new commitments with an eye toward overcoming challenges and breaking new ground.
We can have a woman at the helm of the United Nations, a woman that has enough experience, that has enough background to fit that bill.
A special look at where global gender equality efforts stand. Next.
Achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. That is Sustainable Development Goal number 5. With less than 5 years until 2030, efforts to achieve gender equality are falling short of UN goals, but officials here are renewing their push. Here's Seema Bahus, Executive Director of UN Women.
2025 must be a turning point, a moment in the history of this long struggle where we embrace bold, urgent, and transformative action, where we show our resolve to push forward for rights, for equality, and for empowerment for all women and girls.
This year, during Women's History Month, the UN laid out its vision of how to achieve a more equal world with a new 6-step action plan. Here's Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed.
Achieving gender equality is not only an issue of justice, it holds the key to unlocking progress on the SDGs and lasting peace. The United Nations remains and is committed to taking bold actions, working with member states and partners to build a future where gender equality is not just a goal, but a lived reality for the millions being left behind.
The UN launched the Gender Equality Clarion Call in 2025, an urgent pledge to advance the rights of women and girls. It coincides with the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration on Gender Equality. So what's changed since the declaration and what still needs to be done? I sat down with Sarah Hendricks, Director of UN Women's Intergovernmental Policy and Program Division. If you can share with us some of the progress that has been made in the 30 years and really what you'll look toward in the future.
So what we see over these past 30 years is that the world is actually more equal for women and girls than it has been at any other point in history. There are now more girls who've completed education than any other time in the world's history. There are increasingly lower maternal mortality rates. There are laws to prevent violence. Women have risen up to kind of grab hold and harness their power and have taken on new roles in the workplace and have broken barriers at home, at work, in society, in their lives in so many ways. But there's always a but and yet. What we do know is that this progress has been too slow. It's been far too uneven. It's been far too fragile. And frankly, and probably most importantly, it can't be counted on. We do see that progress that seemed like it was always going in an upward trajectory, now we see that there is pushback, regression, and changes in direction. For example, a woman every 10 minutes loses her life by femicide to someone in her own family. We also see that the labor force participation rate has not moved in more than 20 years, not even an iota. Just last year, the number of women who are killed in armed conflict quite literally doubled. The context of climate and conflict and crises has created the conditions for incredible challenges in the lives of women and girls right across the world.
Are you optimistic that there is a way forward?
The way forward is the language of choice. At UN Women, we are looking squarely in the eyes of the pushback on gender equality that manifests itself in many different ways across societies around the world. And we are, in fact, pushing forward against that pushback. We are pushing forward to ensure that women's rights, equality, and empowerment stay at the center of international cooperation. We're pushing forward to ensure that women and girls are able to be at the highest levels of decision making. We are pushing forward in order to ensure that women not just occupy spaces of decision-making power, but that they excel in them.
There's a lot happening in the world of technology with artificial intelligence and this digital divide. How are you helping provide access to girls and women who are in some of these countries to keep up with what's happening that's transforming our landscape?
The gender digital divide is of utmost importance to UN Women's priorities, because unlocking that gender digital divide can actually unlock economic dividends and a digital transformation that fundamentally can change the lives of women and girls. We do see, however, that particularly in the context of conflict, of crisis, where poverty is overlaid in women and girls' daily lives, their access to things like a handset, to the internet, lag far beyond men and boys. And this has so many implications. It means that they don't have a digital bank account. It means that they don't have necessarily the same access to STEM education. And we see these big gender gaps in just how technology is defined and who designs it. We do know that while technology creates so many opportunities, it also comes with incredible challenges and risks. And we see this every day in the ways in which women and girls are increasingly vulnerable to online violence, sexual abuse, and harassment. Right now, the latest data tells us that 90 to 95% of all of the deep fake images online are actually capitalizing on women. So the online space and digital technology presents such a seismic shift. It creates unprecedented opportunities, and yet at the same time, there are deeply embedded biases in artificial intelligence and related algorithms. And there are challenges, especially for women in public life, in terms of the ways in which bots and artificial intelligence has increased hate speech and misogyny that's become increasingly normalized and acceptable. So we know we need to do more. We are inspired by some of the recent commitments in international cooperation that have taken place here at the United Nations. Just over a year ago, the Commission on the Status of Women focused just on this issue, on gender equality and women's rights in online spaces. And in this past year, a new global digital compact was agreed by governments all around the world, agreeing to advance and accelerate and finally close that gender digital gap, ensure that women and girls have access to skills and opportunities, and ensure that they are safe and empowered online.
Sarah Hendricks, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Elaine. It's really been a pleasure.
Coming up.
And the question here is not so much why. The question is why not? Why not have a Secretary General that is a woman?
UN Insider.
The United Nations champions women's rights around the world. But even inside the halls of the UN, there is work to be done. Since 1947, only 7% of all permanent representatives to the UN have been women, and a woman has never served as Secretary General. But there are efforts underway to change that. I sat down with Susana Molcora. She's a former UN official and the co-founder and president of GWL Voices. Susana, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
You recently released a major report, Women in Multilateralism 2025, a major report as the United Nations marks 80 years this year. And looking through some of the numbers, they could and should be better. I'll read some to you. 7%, only 7% of the more than 2,800 permanent representatives have been women. 73 countries have never appointed a female UN ambassador. Want to get your thoughts and reflections on some of those numbers.
You know, we started this report 3 years ago, and each year we focus on different issues. So this year we are looking into governing bodies of different institutions, but we have a spotlight on the General Assembly. And the figures that you just mentioned come from that spotlight, a deeper look into the UN General Assembly. And the figures are really, really calling for us to pay attention to member states, because it is very interesting. 73 countries, you said it, never appointed a woman to the UN. But interestingly, some of those countries are very strong on the issue of women representation. Some of them even have feminist foreign policies, and still they have not appointed a woman. So we want to bring this to the fore, because it is critical to have the fair representation of women in the governing bodies, particularly in the one that is most central to the decision process, like the UN General Assembly, and the one that has the most democratic representation of the world. So half the peoples need to be represented there.
Only 4 female UN General Assembly presidents and not a single UN Secretary General who has been a female. Some startling numbers as the United Nations really tries to push gender equality.
Well, again, 2 very strong figures, you know. In 79 years, only 4 women. There will be another woman next year, because the president of the UNGA 80 is going to be Germany, and they have indicated that it's going to be a woman. And you're right, never a woman Secretary General. And here, I think what is important is to say, not only because women have not been represented, it's because women bring a different perspective to the issues. And that's why we believe it's time to have a woman Secretary General. We have this Madam Secretary General campaign, and it's time to think about rotating the presidency of the General Assembly between men and women to allow for this a very, very clear notion of women getting their share. But again, not only because of the rights of women, because it's justice, it's because there is an opportunity to approach the issues from a different angle.
This movement, Madam Secretary General, is also a hashtag. What kind of reception has it received so far as it's been floated out and discussed?
When you look at what happened in the last General Assembly, quite a few leaders raised this specific issue when they spoke at the podium of the General Assembly, starting with President Lula, who opens up the debate, and the president of Slovenia, the president of Spain, quite a few others. In fact, I think the number is 12, mentioned this at that opening. But then when you look at some of the deliberations that are taking place within the General Assembly, there is this deliberation on the revitalization of the General Assembly, very technical discussion on how to move ahead with a more vital General Assembly. And in that, you see that Spain, Mexico, and Slovenia had a statement presented that called for female candidates, and 78 states adhere to that. So it's 81 in total that have formally adhered to the notion of having candidates. So in our view, we have quite a strong base to think that this is something that can move forward. And the question here is not so much why, the question is why not? Why not have a Secretary General that is a woman?
We do know that the next Secretary General will come from the Latin American region. I know your name has been thrown about. Tell us some of the other women that are in the conversation. And, you know, they represent a region that has seen women at the top levels of leadership.
Well, on a personal note, I'm not a candidate. I'm here to make sure that there are enough candidates. I was a candidate last time around, been there, done it. Now my job from GWL Voices, as president of GWL Voices, is to make sure that we have a deep bench of women that are put forward. And you're right, our region is a region that has shown a strong presence of women at the leadership position in the countries, and we have the opportunity to showcase that as things move forward. There are enough women in the world, that there are enough women in my region to really think that we can have a good woman at the helm of the United Nations, a woman that has enough experience, that has enough background to fit that bill. There are very, very good names in our region. There are very good names in the world. And we just need them to be suggested by their countries, by their governments, and then for the process to move and really embrace this idea that it's the time for a woman, not because of being a woman, it's because women bring strong stewardship of resources. And what else is needed these days than to have strong stewardship? Women do a very, very good job at managing risks. Women are very good at bridging, at listening, at trying to build consensus. And what else is needed in this day and age than a consensus builder? So we believe women, competent women are there, many competent women, and many competent women that tick these boxes that are, in our view, so badly required.
You bring unique experience and perspective to what is happening because of all your years at the United Nations. You worked very closely with former Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, who really put women and female leadership at the forefront as something that he wanted to push forward. And you're also foreign minister of your country, Argentina, which is a huge country, who's also seen a female president. What are you seeing inside the UN now that gives you optimism that we will get to this point of women at the top?
When I hear what member states want, and I pay a lot of attention to that, I don't see any member state, and I mean any member state, that is saying no to a woman. I don't see any reason why women should be discarded. What we need to build is a good list of candidates that can offer different perspectives, that can bring this experience that I just described, and that can try and bring coalitions of interested member states behind them. And then it's for the Security Council to go through that and have good options. Women bring what is needed and what member states themselves say that is needed. So again, the question is, why not?
Susana Malcorra, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I asked the UN's Undersecretary General for Global Communications about the potential of a woman serving as the next SG. Here's Melissa Fleming.
Well, this current Secretary General, I was on his transition team when he started, and one of the first things he said was that he apologized for not being female, because he realized also that it is the moment and the time has come for a woman Secretary General, and there is a lot of consensus, I would say, around everyone I know here at the UN believes it is also high time. It will be up to the member states to elect the next Secretary General, but I'm really confident that there will be some very strong women candidates, and very hopeful that in January 2027, the new Secretary General who walks into this building will be a woman.
UN Insider.
All you need to know about China. China 24, only on CGTN.
Last year, 393 million women and girls were living in extreme poverty. Policies ensuring equal wages and social protections could reduce that figure to 115 million by 2050. At the current pace, it would take 137 years to end extreme poverty among women and girls. Around the world, poverty impacts women and girls by far. Limited economic opportunities and resources contribute to the problem, but education can create changes that extend far beyond the classroom.
Every weekday, 16-year-old Maria Gloria Martin packs up her books and supplies and walks to her school in the city. It's a 90-minute journey to a place that offers an education she could never get in rural Guatemala. A journey to a place that puts her light years ahead of her peers. Throughout Guatemala, 2 million school-aged children do not attend school, and the majority of them are indigenous girls. According to the international nonprofit group Population Council, 39% of indigenous women in Guatemala are illiterate. Many are expected to stay home to help with childcare and household chores. Maria Gloria's family is Cochical Indian. Her parents are barely literate and don't speak Spanish. When their daughter was offered a chance to get an education, they jumped at the opportunity. Her school is called the Maya. It opened in 2017 and it's funded by private philanthropists. It's located in the majority indigenous province of Solala in Guatemala's western highlands. Maya's approach is to go beyond traditional education, helping the girls build life skills and self-confidence in a holistic way.
Since there are only girls here, it's very different from other schools where there are both girls and boys. As girls, we have some ideas that are different from the boys' ideas. We are different, and sometimes they do not respect us. I got interested in this school because I can learn a lot of things, and I couldn't learn elsewhere.
The Maya School emphasizes developing leadership and communication skills. Each student has a mentor who gets deeply involved in the girl and her family's lives.
Your brother is Jonathan. Her brother is Jonathan, and you wrote
nuevas ideas, un foco, preguntas de interrogación, con otro color. Hay variaciones y no más pedir esa colaboración que
Mentors regularly visit students' homes to see how the girls are using the social and emotional skills they've learned in the classroom.
One of the things that we find quite striking is the way relationships and power structures change within the family. Before, typically only the father was allowed to make decisions. Now there is a democracy in these families. All family members discuss what is best for them. Even if it is only the girl who goes to our school, the family learns to see itself as a team. The idea is that the entire family is working together to find ways to get ahead. We're breaking taboos and traditional beliefs in a friendly way.
Maria Gloria's parents sent her to Maya after sending her older sister, Yoli, there as well.
It makes me very happy to see my daughters advance towards their goals. Maria Gloria continues to better herself just like Yoli. Yoli is already a math teacher. It's very satisfying for us as parents. We didn't have access to education in our time. It's important for our children to have access because that means the entire family will develop, our community will also grow. My daughters will become great professionals and have a great future.
Organizers say these targeted programs have a long-lasting effect because they've changed perceptions and they reveal to these women what they're truly capable of accomplishing.
From the CCTV UN Bureau at United Nations headquarters in New York, I'm Elaine Reyes. Thanks for being a UN Insider. I'm Elaine Reyes at the United Nations headquarters in New York, and this is a special edition of UN Insider.
UN Insider serves as an important window for the global audience to better understand multilateral diplomacy.
It's very important for the media to cover the United Nations, to seek to understand and tell the story in ways that the average person in the street can understand.
I think it's very important that the media should contribute to conveying important messages about the reality of today's challenges.
UN Insider has come to the UN, and we at the UN are so grateful to have it here. It is the only dedicated TV program to what is happening in the UN, and it is reaching so many people with, as it says in its title, inside the UN stories.
Media plays an important role in providing objective information across the world.
We think that media has a strong power of uplifting, what we are trying to convey as messages as developing countries.
We need the mobilization of all peoples, of whole government and whole of society, and media can help us to be informed so that we also can make our part.
I think the media is fundamental to enable citizens across the world, first of all, to understand what is the rationale of having the United Nations. It's not that there is one place on planet Earth that will tell the rest of the world what to do. It is a much more complex story.